Some of you may know that I rather believe in dressing for the occasion. And here we have British history, British revolutions. And so I guess what I'd like to do is say that when I taught up on campus, along with teaching British history, a core class of mine was Western Civ. In other words, European history from the Renaissance to modern times. And when you do European history, a term that's used often is British exceptionalism. And what that means, what that refers to, is that you're all the time saying, and this practice occurred just like this all across Europe, except in England. This is how monarchy worked in all of Europe, except for England. This is how inheritance practices were all through Europe, except in England. And so in this course, what we're going to be doing is working through this history. And something about this history, as we're going through, I guess I want to say that a characteristic of Britain, as nations go, is that it was precocious. A lot of elements of the modern world really originated in Britain. Let's say three central pillars of the modern world. You could say representative government, religious pluralism, industrial revolution. They all had their roots in England and then came out. In some ways, you could say England was sort of the fountainhead of modernity. So that's kind of serious stuff. But I guess also I want to say that with British history, you've got a lot of very interesting stories as you're going along. And there's a text that we're recommending that's going to be on the website, and it's entitled The Story of Britain. And in this story, there are many fascinating figures. So a feature of this course, the subtitle of this course, Kings, Queens, and Knaves. That's just one of the focuses. I guess you've got kings such as Henry VIII, King George III. You have queens such as Queen Elizabeth, Queen Victoria. And then you have knaves. And something I want to say about knaves, just in terms of language, in a deck of cards, the early term for a jack was a knave. And so some of these knaves, we've got Sir Francis Drake, we've got Oscar Wilde. We have some serious knaves in British history. And so you've got this little country that has an influence that is so beyond. Just thinking in terms of the 19th century, with the British Empire. What was the expression about the British Empire? What about the sun? Never sets. 1/4 of the world's population was in territory that was ruled by this tiny little nation on the edge of Europe. And in terms of cultural influence, there is, as we know, a new lingua franca in the 20th century that developed in the 20th century. So what's the language we're speaking here? American, thank you. As Oscar Wilde said, English, speaking of Britain and America, English is the language that divides two peoples. So 3 weeks hence, on Tuesday in the afternoon, we'll be meeting here. There'll be tea after class, of course, for British revolutions. I hope you can join us. Thank you.